Kevin Cheveldayoff has yet but one important task with the trade deadline coming up: acquire elite talent. That's a huge task, I know, but it's what the Jets have to do this year going into the trade deadline. This team this year is the best team that the Jets have had in a very long time, going back to 2017-18, and they need a league-shattering trade. They need to bring some elite talented, and we're already seeing trades like this happening. Mikko Rantanen and Taylor Hall being shipped off to Carolina in that massive trade the other day between the Avalanche and the Carolina Hurricanes, and somehow the Blackhawks as well, thrown in there as well for cap retainment. And I want to see the Jets do something like this going into the deadline. I want the Jets to go in. I believe in this team. I believe in Chevy and his vision, and we're seeing it come to fruition this year with how good this team is, but there are holes and room for improvement. And I think that if the rumors are true about the Pittsburgh Penguins moving on from Erik Karlsson, obviously there's so much rumors coming out of Pittsburgh about who they might trade and who they won't trade, but I think Erik Karlsson's name is definitely one that we could see get moved coming up to the deadline. And Erik Karlsson, without a doubt, is one of the best offensive defensemen the NHL has ever seen. You look at his numbers, they're undeniable. He is one of the best offensive defensemen of my generation, at least for sure. And I know his defensive metrics are terrible, but we're not trading for a defenseman that's going to, lock things up. We have pretty good defensive defensemen. We have good, solid two-way defensemen. We need that legit offensive punch to really stack up this team even more, I believe, to really add to the offensive threat that the Jets already have. And is there anyone more offensive that might be available for trade on the defensive market other than Erik Karlsson? And this guy has so much pedigree to his name. He is still elite at this age. I know Pittsburgh's having their problems and his defensive game has not been there, but I think bringing him into the Jets and putting him in a situation where he could really play with some solid two-way defensive guys that he could have some chemistry with. Look at his numbers. We know his career that he's had. Even a couple years ago with a terrible San Jose team having the 101-point season, and even with Pittsburgh, he's been pretty damn good. Like he hasn't been obviously to that level, but he's still an elite offensive defenseman with a lot of skill. And Pittsburgh's struggling as a team in itself. They have so much star power on there, and they're still, playing really bad hockey. And I think that there's a way that the Jets could make this work, even with his contract. I know he's making a lot of money. That $11.5 million is a lot of money, but because San Jose retained $1.5 million of his contract, he's only making $10 million right now with Pittsburgh. So if there was some more money, a third team gets involved, Pittsburgh retains a little bit, maybe some other team does. The Jets have enough cap to fit this in. They're going to have over $11 million going into the trade deadline. They have the cap to add elite talent. And when you look at this team right now, I'm obviously not saying put Erik Karlsson on the third pairing, but just getting Logan Stanley out of there and you throw it, and you already look where he's playing, right? Erik Karlsson is playing on the second pairing right now with Grzelcyk. If you put Erik Karlsson onto this team, you take out Logan Stanley, you could have him maybe playing up there with Sandberg. You can drop Pionk down, who's played well with Fleury, not to mention you have Colin Miller back there, Ville Heinola for depth. It pushes Logan Stanley out of the lineup. This makes a lot of sense. Going out there and getting an elite defenseman that has this offensive threat that adds to the second power play as well and the first power play, really, in my opinion, when you look at the defense the Jets have right now with the offense they have between Morrissey and Pionk, if you add Karlsson to that mix, they have some of the best offensive defensemen in the NHL. They would have 3 of the top 13, I believe, the scoring in defensemen right now this season. That's pretty damn good to have on the back end, and having that in the playoffs would be a threat the Jets haven't had really ever. You go back and you look, Justin Bufflin was incredible, Trouba contributed a lot in 2017-18, Myers even had some goals in there as well, and they got a lot of offense out of that decor back in the day. And I think that implementing a aggressive offense that the defense would have, led by Morrissey, you've got Pionk back there as well. Sandberg is a super reliable. Colin Miller, super reliable defenseman. If you trade maybe for another defensive guy, a depth, more third pairing lockdown defenseman that will be on the cheaper side as well, that could really take this team to a level that we haven't seen the Jets be at before. And I think that that's what Chevy's going to do this year. From all accounts of his interviews, the way that he's just dropping hints and the way that the things are already going in the NHL, I just think that the Jets are really in contention this year to land superstar talent that we haven't seen the Jets really ever go out there and add. Paul Stastny was a great trade and he worked out well for this team, but he wasn't on a level of a superstar. Kevin Hayes, good second line center, not a superstar. The Jets have never really went out there and made that crazy trade. And I think that this seems to be the year to why not go in and do that, And obviously this is all hypothetical. There is no real links tying Karlsson to the Jets. I'm talking as a fan looking at the trade market and guys who are available that I would like to see on the Jets to really help make this team elite, because the Jets have not focused on their defense at all coming into the trade deadline. It's always been going into the 2C spot and spending every asset on a forward. And with the way that the forward core's playing, even with Lowry out with his injury, I think that, honestly, going with upgrading the defense and really adding star talent back there could be the threat that the Jets have been missing in a lot of their playoff runs. You go back and let's look. Colin Miller was the big defensive add at the trade deadline last year. Go back a couple years ago, they're trading for Jordy Ben at the deadline to shore up the defense. Is that really what we want to see again? You seeing the pattern here? Dylan DeMello was probably one of the best adds they had ever at a deadline on the defensive end, and he's worked beautifully. No complaints there. But then you go back even further, Nathan Beaulieu is the defensive depth add they make at the playoffs. The only other really good one that's worked out well is going back to 2017-18 was Joe Morrow for a 4th round pick. Like, the Jets have never focused on defense come trade deadline time, because they've had okay defenses in the past, but when they also haven't had good defenses, Chevy hasn't focused there. He's focused on the offense, and with the way that the forwards are playing this year, the chemistry we're seeing up front, I don't know if the Jets need that 2C as much as they think. Don't get me wrong, I still would love to see an upgrade at that center position, but I don't think spending everything on the forwards this year and on a center position, second line center in particular, is the right bet going forward. I think that, we've seen this kind of track record play out, and it hasn't worked for the Jets. They've traded for a 2C come deadline time, and it just hasn't worked in the playoffs since that Paul Stastny move. Monahan was great in the regular season, but that line in the playoffs, the second line, did absolutely nothing. And, it didn't work out. Same with the Toffoli trade. It didn't work out come playoff time. He was invisible. So do we really want to see them add it all to the forward core again, when the defense, in my opinion, it definitely could use some improvement? I think that when you look at the defensive core the last couple of years, I think that the Jets have really missed out on upgrading that area at times. And I think that if there are elite players out there, if Karlsson is available for trade, why not go out and do it? If a guy like in Calgary, like Anderson's available, why not and go out and do that? I think it just makes sense to do that. Same with the forward end, if with Pettersson being available, I'm not going to say JT Miller, but I'm going to say him anyway. I don't really want JT Miller, but still, the star power that he is and the talent that he is, right? If those guys are available, a Brock Nelson, potentially a Barzell even, if any of those guys are available, that's what the Jets should be going out and doing, in my opinion. And I think that Chevy has kind of an obligation to do that this year. I think that this is, if there's ever been a year to go all in on a player and really improve this team, this is it. The window is closing, and I think that he knows that. I think the organization knows that as a whole. And I think that we're going to see something happen this year that could really blow all of our socks off. I really believe that. I believe in Chevy. I believe in this management because of what they've been able to accomplish. I know we failed in the playoffs, but I believe that, I always believe, I'm a Jets fan, so what it's going to come down to. So I really want to see them do this year, go out and make that crazy trade. But I also want to hear your guys' thoughts. Do you think this is smart? Do you think it's stupid? Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. As always, really appreciate you guys contributing to the comments. It's always great to read them. It's really entertaining sometimes, and I love doing that. So thanks so much for watching. Peace and positivity. As always, follow me on Twitter, Instagram. Check out all the affiliate links down in the description below. Have a great rest of your day. Go Jets, go! And I will see you all in the next one. It'll all be over. It'll all be over.